Look at your arm. Notice the skin? It's thin, exposed, and entirely useless against the cold. By all accounts of evolutionary logic, we should have been extinct long before we ever learned to build a fire. Yet, here we are, the only naked ape on a planet that seems designed to kill us. What happened to our fur? And more importantly, why did we choose to let it go? Every single species on this planet has spent millions of years adapting to Earth. Fish developed gills to breathe underwater. Birds evolved hollow bones to fly. Polar bears grew thick fur to survive the Arctic. Nature is a master of design, perfectly calibrating its inhabitants for the harsh realities of their environment. And then, there's us. We burn in our own sunlight. Our spines are falling apart. We are fundamentally unable to protect ourselves from the elements without external help. We are a statistical impossibility. There are over 5,000 species of mammals on this planet, and nearly every one of them is covered in a thick, protective coat. To be a mammal is to be furred, yet humans are the only ones who broke the rule. We are an outlier in a system that doesn't usually tolerate outliers. For decades, biologists have treated our lack of hair as one of the great mysteries of human evolution. How does a species simply lose its primary defense against the sun, cold, and parasites? It's not just a change in appearance. It is a total physiological reset. The most prominent answer is the sweating hypothesis. As our ancestors moved from the dense, shaded forests into the open, sweltering savanna, their survival depended on movement. To hunt, they had to be able to run long distances under a blistering sun without overheating. Fur is great for insulation, but it's a death sentence if you need to dump body heat fast. By losing our fur and developing a massive density of eccrine sweat glands, we became the planet's ultimate endurance hunters. We couldn't outrun a gazelle, but we could out-jog it until it collapsed from heat exhaustion. We didn't need to be fast. We just needed to be able to cool down. It was a trade-off. We sacrificed our ability to stay warm in a blizzard for the ability to chase down prey in the midday heat. But there is a darker, stranger theory that has persisted on the fringes of biology, the aquatic ape hypothesis. It suggests that our ancestors spent a significant amount of time in shallow water, foraging for food. In water, fur is a burden. It gets waterlogged, heavy, and slows you down. A smooth, hairless body is an advantage. While this theory remains highly controversial in mainstream paleoanthropology, it highlights how bizarre our current form actually is. We are primates that look less like chimpanzees and more like aquatic mammals. We have subcutaneous fat layers that are more similar to dolphins than to our primate cousins. We hold our breath in ways other primates cannot, and we have a diving reflex that triggers the moment our faces hit cold water. Regardless of which hypothesis is correct, the loss of fur triggered a total reconstruction of the human experience. Once we were naked, we were forced to become something else. Think about the social cost of losing your coat. In the animal kingdom, fur is a social lubricant. It's for grooming, for bonding, for signaling status. When we lost our fur, we lost those physical channels of connection. We had to replace them with something else. Language, complex social hierarchies, and eventually, a deeply internalized sense of self. We started needing to read each other in ways no other animal does. We weren't just checking for fleas, we were checking for intentions. We also had to become the architects of our own environment. Since we couldn't rely on our biology to keep us warm, we had to rely on our minds. We started building shelters, tanning hides, and, most importantly, learning to control fire. The campfire didn't just keep us warm, it became the center of the human universe. It was where we told the stories that built our cultures. In a very real sense, our nakedness forced us to become human. The cold of the night, which had once been a death sentence for a furless primate, became the space where our culture was born. But consider the long-term cost of this artificiality. We created an environment so separated from our biological baseline that we have forgotten how to interact with the world directly. We have become prisoners of our own ingenuity. We need to be clothed, fed, and housed in specific ranges of temperature, or we fail. A lion doesn't need to check the weather forecast to know if it will survive the night. A bird doesn't need to worry about its spine compressing under the weight of its own upright posture. We are the only creature on this planet that has effectively outsourced its survival to its own inventions.
This brings us to an uncomfortable reality regarding our modern condition. Why are we so chronically anxious? Why does modern life feel so mismatched with our biology? Perhaps it's because we are biological beings living in a world built for machines. We have the brain of a savanna hunter, the body of an upright, furless primate, and the lifestyle of a sedentary digital worker. We are constantly trying to reconcile these three mismatched identities. We feel the urge to run, but we are chained to desks. We feel the urge to connect, but we are isolated by screens. We feel the urge to belong to a tribe of 150 people, but we are overwhelmed by a global population of billions. And then there is the psychological weight of our awareness. We are the only species that looked around at the world it evolved in and thought, something is off. We are the only species that builds religions to cope with the terror of knowing we will die. It feels like a feature you'd find in a species that is simply out of place, conscious enough to sense something is wrong, but unable to figure out what. We are constantly looking for the reason why we exist, perhaps because our biology is screaming at us that we are in the wrong place at the wrong time. Maybe the fur wasn't just hair. Maybe it was a barrier, a biological buffer that kept us connected to the animal world. When we stripped it away, we stood naked before the truth of our own existence. We became the masters of the planet, yes, but we also became the only creatures on Earth that know exactly how fragile we really are. And we've been trying to cover that up ever since. We cover ourselves in clothes, we build temperature-controlled homes, we surround ourselves with digital distractions, all to hide the fact that we don't belong in the cold and we don't belong under the sun. We are the ultimate survivalists, but we are also the ultimate runaways. We ran away from the forest, we ran away from the sun, and we ran away from the animal life that our ancestors led for millions of years. And in doing so, we created a new kind of animal. One that is incredibly smart, deeply unhappy, and permanently out of place. We have engineered a world that satisfies our intellectual curiosity but starves our primal needs. We have everything we could ever want, yet we feel like we are missing the one thing that would make us feel whole again. So the next time you feel the chill of the air or the burn of the sun, remember, that is the sensation of your true nature. You are a creature that was never supposed to be here, exposed and vulnerable, building a world out of nothing just to stay alive for one more day. We are the naked ape, and we have been shivering ever since. We are searching for a home that we burned down long ago, and as the lights go out, we are left with nothing but the cold, the dark, and the uncomfortable realization that we are completely and utterly alone in our own brilliance.